verbal diarrhea. What is it? How do you cope with it? Let's explore this in today's video. We're rambling on and on and on with no respect for your boundaries. The topic could be anything. They talk about whatever they want to, and it's not the notion that it may not be an interesting topic, or they may be even sharing something somewhat valuable. It's not about that. It's about the fact that you don't really exist. It's all about their energy, and they're taking you over. They just need somebody to listen to them. They need to get it out, and so they want to use somebody who will just stand there and listen. Well, as a kid growing up, if you have to take this, it often ties into a form of childhood trauma. Because quite often, children who are chameleons, who are walking on eggshells, you're supposed to just blend in. This can especially be true if you have narcissistic parents, or if there's any kind of abuse in the household going on. You don't want to make it worse. The child just wants to tiptoe around. I don't want to add to all the chaos and all the confusion. And so they're used to having to just zip it on some level. And so they're prime candidates to be the recipient of someone else's verbal diarrhea. We have to learn how to have some boundaries about that, and I want to talk about that in today's video. I did do another video called Toxic Talking. I'll have the link in the description box below for that. And in that video, I explore more the whys, why somebody overtalks, the underlying reasons for that, because it is related to underlying reasons, whether it's anxiety, feeling extremely insecure, having to make sure they're going to be heard. In that video, I explore the whys. In today's video, I want to explore more how to handle it. If you're the recipient of someone's verbal diarrhea, what do you do? Well, I will say in my life, I had to deal with this quite a bit as a child, and it triggered me as I got older. I couldn't stand it when people would just drone on and on, because I could tell it really didn't matter that I was there. They're just looking for a way to just unload, to dump on somebody, and that's not fair to a child, and it's not fair to anybody. But a person will do it until they feel like somebody's having a healthy boundary with them. So my mother, who emotionally smothered me, felt completely comfortable to tell me all about her adult problems and her day related to being at work, who she interacted with, how she felt about this interaction, problems with my father, things that I never should have heard, problems in the marriage, where she wanted to go get her hair done this Saturday, an argument she had with somebody in the neighborhood or maybe a family member. The list goes on, and she was free to just unload it all. And when you're a child, you don't know what to do about that. Now, one thing to remember is the person who's talking a lot may be a caring, loving person in many ways, but they don't know what to do if they're going to get any emotion or feeling or important thought or opinion coming back at them. They get frightened by that. They're scared of something strong coming at them. So a way to cover that up is just keep talking. And you're not able to voice your emotion or a feeling related to something, you need to interrupt and share that emotion. They're trying to evade it, and you need to make sure you share it. It's like they're using the words, the hamster wheel, to avoid knowing what you are feeling. So first of all, you just listen. What are they trying to express? What are they saying? Try to go beyond the rambling a little bit and perhaps just narrow down what they're trying to get out. And then once you've determined that you have a sense about what they're trying to communicate, interject, hey, I need to interrupt you now for a moment. Do you mind? Or I'd like to say something right now. Is that okay? Or I'd like to interject something here. So you begin taking control or command of this a little bit. Now notice if they still try to take control at that point by saying, well, let me just finish this thought. Then verbally say, yes, I'll let you finish this thought, and then I'm going to interject something. And then let them finish their thought. But if they try to go on and on, then you bring it back to you and say, it's my turn now. I want to interject something because you finished your thought. Different ways of saying it, but you're letting them know that you're following what was agreed to. They said that they just wanted to finish their thought. Well, they finished their thought. Now it's your turn. Now, so when it's your turn to talk, you acknowledge what they've said. You can sum it up. I've heard you say A, B, or C. That way you're letting them know they've been heard. You've even named what was just said. You've identified it. That's a good first step right here, because they can't jump in and say, no, you didn't get what I'm saying. You didn't hear me. You simply repeat, this is what I've heard. Now, they may try to overtalk you at this point because they want to add something to what you just summed up. They want to correct you about something you just said about what they just said. They want to reframe it. So just know that that energy will probably come out. That's the verbal diarrhea. And then you can say, let me just finish my thought. So now you regain control by claiming the floor, so to speak. I'm going to finish my thought. Make some I statements at this point about what the topic is. Maybe they've been sharing how hard it is to work with some people at work. That's what they've been saying. So now as you've reclaimed the floor, make some I statements about, yeah, sometimes I have problems with people at work as well. And then share a story perhaps about a coworker or something that you want to bring up using I statements. When they interject or they try to overtalk you, or they want to bring it back to them, you say, no, let me finish my story right now. The reason it's helpful to make I statements related to what the topic is because it may reduce their anxiety that they haven't been heard. You're connecting your story into theirs, but it's about you in this case. You're talking about your experience. At this point, if it doesn't establish an ebb and flow in the conversation where person A talks, then person B talks, then person A talks, then person B talks, if it doesn't get that rhythm going, then it's time to end the conversation. You don't have to stand there and just listen endlessly. And so you have to be willing to hurt their feelings if that's going to be their reaction. Hopefully it won't be. But whatever their reaction is what their reaction is. Don't try to take responsibility for that. Let them have their reaction if they get pissed off or something. So there's different ways of saying it at this point. Like maybe we can catch up again in the future and talk a little bit more about this. It's been great talking to you. I need to go now. Let's say you're at a party and you can say, we've been talking here for quite a while. I want to go mingle with some other people right now. You have to set some boundaries. And you have to be willing in the setting of the boundaries to risk upsetting them. So let them be upset. That's a comment on them, not on you. Hopefully they won't be upset and they'll understand. But if they don't, that's their reaction, not yours. You don't have to worry about that. That has nothing to do with you. Just make sure you're setting your own healthy boundaries about you. Of course, you're not using harsh language, calling them names, ridiculing them per se. You're just pointing out boundaries. You're taking control in a way. It has nothing to do with being mean whatsoever. If they ask you more about why you can't talk right now, why you can't go on more with them, say it's a problem for me to not be able to share what I think. So again, you're not blaming them. You're not putting it on them. You're claiming it for you. It is a problem for you. It is uncomfortable and unhealthy to not be able to share your thoughts, your feelings. And so you say that. Directly tell them you need more give and take in your conversations. And if things don't change, and depending on who this is and how it's affecting you in your life, it can range all the way from a full-time or temporary no contact situation to just simply taking the person in doses when you're comfortable with that, setting the time and the place and how it's going to unfold. Another tool is to gather some other people into the conversation, sort of dilute it a little bit. There's no hard, fast, set rule in dealing with this. We have to be creative and come up with our own healthy boundaries, because it's stemming from a lot of unhealthy reasons for them that they may not even be aware of. You can explore that in my other video, Toxic Talking, how a person is compelled to talk and they don't even often understand why. It's not evil, it's not bad, it's just where they're at. But at the same time, you don't have to be somebody who's going to be a sacrificial lamb and take this. Especially for children, again, who are raised in this environment, it's something we really have to work on as adults, because you're trained to be there for the offending parent, for the perpetrator, so to speak. So you've learned to not have that voice. You had to zip it growing up. Well, you don't have to do that anymore as an adult. It's time for things to change, and hopefully some of these boundaries I mentioned will assist you in your life in doing just that. Please leave me some comments below if you'd like to add anything, share any stories about toxic talking in your life. Please subscribe to my mental health YouTube channel if you like these kind of videos. And until next week, this is Brad Shore signing off from Ask a Shrink.